Hey witches.
Hello.
We are doing week 5 of the Beginner Witch series where we are talking about divination in all of its glory. We'll see you in just a minute. Good evening, everybody. So tonight is about divination, you guys. And I want you to know, Mom, that's because you're not muted. I'm echoing. Sorry, we're fixing.
Sorry.
We can hear echo.
We're gonna get it together, I promise. Hi, Billy.
In 3, 2, 1, and go. All right, tonight we are talking about divination, and definitely the first thing that I want to tell you guys is there is no way to cover like every divination and go through tarot comprehensively in one 30 to 45 minute session. There just isn't. So this is an introduction to a lot of different systems, but I think what we really bring to it is like our tips and tricks, like the things that we know about. And then of course, you guys, any questions you might have, like you want to verify something that you've experienced or gone through and like double checking, you know, hey, how does this sound to you guys? The Q&A part of this is usually pretty eventful because a lot of people have had experience with tarot or some kind of divination thing. And I consider divination like so many things. Like numerology is divination, palmistry is divination. So all of these systems that we use to interpret energies, that we use to interpret events in our life, people, happenings. And it's not always predictive measures like people think, you know, you're not always trying to predict the future, but you're just trying to figure your stuff out.
Get some insight.
Get insight, yeah. Like our human minds get here and we're spiritual beings in a human body, and it becomes very confusing. We can feel all these things, and then the world around us is going like, no, you're human now. That's not real. And we're like, but we feel like we have intuition, and that's where intuition, everything, you're trying to block like that human side of ration, or not block it. That human side of ration is trying to block your intuitive side of like reasoning. Those two guys can clash, and it's hard to learn to trust yourself. That's another part of divination, is trusting what you think, like some of the stuff that comes up, even exploring it, giving yourself the space to explore the things that you think, you know, why a butterfly or a bird or certain clouds or sunsets are special to you, giving yourself like just time to figure out why that is special to you and what you think it's a sign of. So that's kind of the intro, I guess.
Yeah. No, you covered it. You covered it.
It's reading everything. I think I don't see, I'm over on this side. I don't even know. It's 7:06, so I can start. Yay. All right. So we are doing week 5 for divination. And I think that I already covered it, but divination is anything that you're using to interpret the world around you, interpret situations, people. You said something after I said that was really good. I don't remember now, but like the happenings of your life.
Yeah.
That's
what instantly came to mind when you said animals and like butterflies and
Yes.
stuff is that the one time I really had something happen to me with an animal that I just thought was so mind-blowing was I saw a coyote doing circles in a downtown Bradenton like area, busy area, and he's just doing circles in the intersection. And I'm going, what in the heck? At the time, I was stalking my boyfriend because I thought he was cheating on me. And I was like, I need to find out, like, I need to know if this guy is being honest or not, or if he's like over at this girl's house. So that's what I was doing at that time. And I thought, oh my gosh, that has to be a sign, right? So I looked up the meaning of coyote. Sure enough, somebody's being sneaky, sly. You know exactly what a coyote is.
Like cunning type, fox type stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
correct. And so shortly after I did find out that he was a liar. So, but that was like really big. I was like, oh gosh, that's so crazy. Like, just the definition of the coyote was like
the animal thing.
Yeah.
And you guys you're going to ask for references on animal stuff. And I promise you, like, if you search for it online, you'll find sites. And I think that personally, you'll know which site is right for you because there are tons of sites. So try out a couple. And like, as soon as you read the one, you're like, I feel this one. That's where we're using our intuition to say, oh, okay, I feel called to this site, or, you know, this tarot deck, or whatever we feel called to. That's listening to that inner voice, the guidance system where it's trying to lead you in the right direction. But what Jolene is saying really hits home for me is you have to be paying attention. Like you have to kind of have your eyes open in a different perspective. It's not just about viewing the world around you, but it's seeing it for the patterns that you might recognize, the things that really stand out to you that you're like, whoa, well, that's really out of place. Like,
It's gotta be a sign, right?
yeah.
It is.
So I was on a retreat last week for women veterans, and I had a girl there who was figuring out her spirituality, and we had to tell stories about different things. You know, people are important to us. What's our worst day? What's our best day? Long story short, she had a thing for ladybugs, and we were in North Georgia where it's extremely cold. It was like 36 at night. I don't know the area really well, but she had told the story minutes before this happened to her. Her mom passed, and butterflies were her and her mom, or I'm sorry, not butterflies, ladybugs. Ladybugs were her and her mom's thing. We broke from group. She went upstairs, and a ladybug landed on her arm, like the chills of it. And she just came downstairs crying, and she was like, it just confirms everything for me. You know, like, I just know, this is just how I know. And it gives her such a sense of not just knowing, but like feeling this is the right thing. This is the right time. This is the right conversation. I think that it's usually confirmations that I'm looking for, or that I do with my divination stuff. I think
it's another way to get a message from spirit, in my opinion, you know.
Definitely. I feel like that's not spirit. So we have, like, you know, our team of light, soul groups, past lives, anything like that. But then also there's this other energy that I don't really have a clear idea of what it is, but source, the universe, you know, a one God, or the God, the goddess, all of that, the entity that we sort of, I believe we all came from, broke apart, and we're experiencing in different aspects. I think that alone can also give us the signs. You know, sometimes it's not from a passed over loved one, or it's not necessarily from our team of light, but you have this amazing experience and you're going like, whoa, I've never had that. That was all, I feel so like connected to everything and being right exactly where I'm at, and the world is beautiful, and I could just like die happy right now. I've had a couple of those moments in my life where it's too good to be true, and it's just like, okay, I've lived my best day ever. So I think about it from that perspective too, that like source sends you things, or, you know, God and goddess send you things, or however you see that energy. I do have some facts for you guys, because you know I love facts. I love to tell you where stuff started. Divination has been around, I think, since like the beginning of time. I think that we were always looking towards the stars, figuring out patterns in behavior of animals, signs, things. So we use that as a way to predict the outcome of our day, the next day, you know, reading clouds for rainstorms. So it started as a way that helped us survive the elements, survive in our human bodies. But then we started to feel that connection to, you know, when loved ones passed over and you did see their favorite animal all the time, you know, so it grew into a true practice. And historically, or in books, they have stuff going back on divination to, you know, I wrote it down, at least the 1st century BC. I didn't write a freaking BC or AD. I know it's BC. So this is like cave drawings. This is things that lets us know that people before us had some kind of spiritual practice, that they were trying to sense or figure out their surroundings using patterns of, you know, animals, clouds, the structure, any symbolism. Divination is found across every single civilization ever, even now. Even people who don't think that they have divination tools, they do, because they have things that are important to them that shouldn't be like destroyed, or, you know, it's like Americans and the American flag. You don't let it touch the ground. You don't, you know, there's only one way to destroy it, I guess, recycle it, whatever. So you have these things that are super important to us, that mean something, that stand for something in our lives. And that's across all nations, all over the world. All religions, all spiritual practices have things to them that are symbols that mean something in a divination way, that it's like, that's a symbol for our thing, like whatever the thing is. In the Roman culture belief, divination was concerned with discovering the will of the gods. So if you think about, they were trying to interpret all of these different gods and goddesses, all those aspects. And you have to ask yourself, like, why were they trying to figure that out? Because it was going to help them live a better life. If they knew what the gods needed or wanted, they could have more crops, they could have more successful children or marriages or whatever. And you start to see that from a very early period of people using divination of any kind, it's to better our lives. It's nothing satanic or devilish or what people might be really afraid of, like you're going to invite some kind of bad spirit or omen into your life. that's not what divination is meant for. It's really truly meant as almost like a sign language. That's what just came to my head, like sign language from the universe.
Yeah.
Because it's not gonna usually put into words, like it's not gonna write a word out in the sky, like go call your mom or something. It's gonna give you signs that make you think of her. And then you think of her and you're like, she's with me, or she's there, or I need to call her. It's like, it's that. If the universe can get you to think about the thing, it's leading your thoughts in the direction that it's trying to help you go to that should be beneficial to you. I have like lists of things that are divination tools, but think anything that you look to try to figure out what the hell is going on. That's like daily horoscopes. That can be, when you run into all the red lights, if things are making you slow down in your space and time, if there's problems in relationships all the time, it's just not working out. I always think of that as the universe trying to stop you. It's like red flag, red flag, red flag. Like we're trying to get you to go no further. And sometimes in our ego, we want to push forward because we're like, we desire this thing. We want this. So we're going to make it work. And the whole time the universe is like, stop, don't do it. No, this is bad. No, we don't listen. We make the same mistakes over and over again. When we talk about shadow work, this is one of the things that we do shadow work. Why do we repeat the same patterns that aren't good for us? I think that there's also a lot of different names for people who use tools. You can have shaman, clairvoyant, clairsentient, mediums, psychics, tarot card readers, rune readers, and then you just have intuitive people in your family or your friends that say things. Like I was telling my sister a story the other day, a not great story about, a mystery that's probably going to end in tragedy. And she instantly felt something and said it out loud. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be near water. And I was like, yeah, I had a bad feeling about it too. I didn't get the sense of it. But so for her, things can come through in an instant that, it's like a picture or a word or a place. That's divination. That's just interpreting energy or signs that are brought to you from wherever you believe they come from, source, your spirit team of light. I think that's all. That's like the gist of everything as far as the background into it. Now, when you start breaking it up into all the different categories and the people and all the things you could do with divination,
so much fun.
Everything.
So much fun.
Actually, we just saw a really funny post on Facebook Marketplace. Was that this morning?
Yeah.
There was a lady in our area somewhere, I think, selling or giving away for free a coffee table that was shaped like a Ouija board. It's not called a Ouija board.
It's a carpet that had the Ouija board,
yes.
And then the coffee table was shaped like the.
Yeah, I'm losing the name for the thing. Anybody who knows the name for the little piece? Oh my gosh, it has a real name.
It does, and it's something weird, so I can't remember it. But whatever the little thing is that you move around.
Planchette. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Amy. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And it even had like a hole in the coffee table. So like if you were to set your drink down, go right through the hole. So her post said, it was really funny. It was like, free. I've tried to sell it. It showed up in my living room the next morning. I've tried to get rid of it. It comes back. Free to take.
I think she made a funny out of it.
Yeah, it was really funny. It's like, it was such a great post.
Yeah.
I can say that somebody gifted me a Ouija board one time, understanding that I was, a witch or witchy. This was before I really claimed the word witch for myself. And when she bought me the Ouija board, I was like, oh, I'm not actually into that at all. You would have been better gifting me a pack of tarot cards or crystals or something. But the Ouija board, I never opened it because I see it as a gimmicky tool. For me, I just don't feel connected to it. I feel funny. It's almost like a silly game. It's like
the feather, stiff as a board.
Yeah. Yeah, like from the craft or something. I'm like, it's a movie prop. I don't. It's published.
I'm sure it's real somewhere, but you buy one at Walmart.
It's real if you make it real. If you have fear and energy around a thing, I think that things happen with it. I think that you can make things happen with the energy that you think about. So if you're afraid of something, things are going to happen that reinforces that fear with it. You know what I mean?
They sell angel boards too. That's pretty cool.
See, now I've never seen an angel board. I've never looked at boards. Not like that. Angel cards and oracle cards and things. For me, I guess we should do our stories of how we first got into divination. And I want to tell you guys my story of my first tarot deck that was really cool. I had an art teacher in high school. I was in 11th grade. And I was new to the school, really sat quietly, but I was an art nerd, so I was really good in her class. And she walked over to me one day and handed me a deck of tarot cards. It was not the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It was something else, and it had a lot of, interesting pictures on it that were artwork. And that's what I thought was really cool about it. And then she's like, it's tarot. She said, I think you'd be good at this. And I'm like, me? Like, what? This is weird. What? So she hands me the deck, and then she's like, try to read somebody. In my art class, instead of doing any assignments, she allowed me to sit there and read people. And that was the first time that I truly used my intuition without fear, where when I laid down cards for people, I could almost instantly tell if it was a match or something was going on. And there was even one girl that said, I want you to read me. And I was like, okay, yeah. I laid out all the cards and I looked at her, I'm like, you don't believe in this at all, do you? She goes, do I need to believe in it? Like, so what? Just read the cards. What are they saying? I was like, I'm not going to read them. And I was this like outcast, nerdy person who had no friends. And I was so in my element during that time. Like, these were popular kids that I was reading for. And the whole situation, I was like, oh, I think I found my power. I think I found the thing that feels really real to me. So she had told me, she's like, take it home with you, practice it, just see what comes of it. She didn't say anything about witchcraft, witches, nothing. She was just like, tarot cards are a way to read energy. See what comes to your mind. Her thing didn't even have a book with it. It was amazing. So that was the first time I was introduced to tarot, and I fell in love, and I was like, I understand this. And it was after that time, within the next year, that I got like my sixth sense, that I started seeing things, having the visions, like being able to see stuff on people, not necessarily auras, but like if people were hurting in some way, like the stomach issue with Olivia, just stuff. I was like, oh, this opened up a whole new world for me, because I just went into it without any fear. That's why I think it happened so rapidly, because I just didn't hesitate. I was like, yes, I own this. What was your first experience with tarot or a divination system?
Not as cool as yours, but really my first experience in general was walking into a metaphysical store and just being awestruck there. And that's really where my witch journey began. I was very young, like 14.
So younger than me. I was 17.
I didn't buy anything the day that I was there, I don't think, but I tried to find it the next day, and I found another place called like White Light, and that's where I went in and I got a bunch of different stuff. So I think it was, yeah, I just like gathered all the things that felt right. I was like, I feel like I need this.
And to say that I think we're guided by our intuition or our likes, our eyes, I don't really know. I've just always called it intuition, what leads me to the places. And when I don't feel with something, I'm like, I'm okay to not get it or let it go. Nobody can really tell me you need to be doing this, or you have to do this, or try this. I'm like, I'm not particularly drawn to oracle cards. And I know people who love their oracle cards. My mom has, Kat has a lot of them, not a lot. She has a few at least. And I've looked through and I'm like, yeah, no, they're beautiful, but I just nothing speaks.
Doesn't hit. Yeah, I'm the same way for me.
It's just from the other side. So I've stuck to tarot, and I've been very successful at tarot. It's never left me. So tarot is the one thing that I definitely probably take everywhere with me. I have a little mini deck from the Wild Unknown. And when I was on this retreat, I had to pack very light and discreet. So I took my little mini travel tarot. At my sister's like, you're going to want to do something. There's going to be a point. Just take
you better take your,
because it's like debating. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not bringing my travel altar. Like, I'm not bringing anything else. I was like, I'll be in nature. It'll be fine. But when I had to write my identity statement, it was extremely hard. Like, I couldn't look up anything for inspiration. I had no internet service. I had nothing. I was just out in the woods. And as much as that is inspiring for me, it didn't help me tell myself who I am. So I drew 5 tarot cards, and I was like, all right, tarot, my best friend in the whole world.
Who am I?
Know so much. Tell me who I am. And I drew the 5 cards, and it's not that the cards themselves were like, you're this, but when I read it, I was like, oh, I was instantly inspired to remember and write about things that's like, this is who I am. Because at first, you guys, my first try at my identity statement was one sentence that I had to read in front of 15 people almost. And it said, I'm a cosmic mermaid swimming through the universe of energy. And
I was first awake when I heard that this morning. I was like, what a what? I love that, but also,
but also what? So I'll have to post a picture of the painting that I did that was supposed to be like my shield of my beliefs, like what helps me get through every single day. And it's like symbolism and stuff. But it was a very interesting retreat, and my cards helped a lot. That's like the one thing that I would definitely take with me all the time. I guess my other system would be animals. If you guys are connected to like animals, insects,
Yeah.
butterflies, bees, birds,
Even trees. There's
I
certain
love
types of trees.
trees,
Yeah.
leaves, little things. You know what I saw for the first time in like forever? And I don't know what these trees are actually called, you guys, but when we were little, we used to call them monkey ball trees because the little things that come off of them were fuzzy,
The green guys.
like monkey balls. We don't even know what monkey balls look like, so we don't have those in Kansas City where we grew up. But
We can
that's what
only
we named
imagine.
the tree. We named the tree the monkey ball tree because the little thing. Do you remember? And then you would peel it back and they poof everywhere. Do you remember this?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, they're green at first and then they turn brown and they like feather. Like
Okay, yeah, they're the green bumpy looking ones.
balls, right?
Or they kind of look
I
like a
don't
green
remember.
brain almost.
Yeah, they can look brainish. Yeah.
Oh, bumpy, weird.
I forgot, well, trees was the thing. So when you see
Trees.
stuff that means something to you, I always take it as you're headed in the right direction.
Mhm.
You know, I think the universe is pretty simple in its ways of trying to guide us. Everything's going really well. You're going in the right direction for your journey, right? You start hitting all these like roadblocks and things start happening and like your car breaks down or you're in an accident or like just so much stopping. It's like, I feel like that's for me, that's the universe telling me, take a moment. You need to just sit. You need to just not go anymore. You need not go down that road further. You need to be where you're at, either find your tribe and sit and connect with them, do something else. But it's definitely like red flags, big X's.
You need to be paying attention
Don't
to
move
something
forward.
in your life for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the part of divination helps you seek clarity and guidance when nobody else around you can tell you what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
You can reach out to friends and family, but that's the insight of somebody who sees your life from the outside. When we use divination, you're really sitting with yourself asking like source, the universe, the goddess, what is going on with me? What's happening in my life right now? And you can ask specific questions, especially with tarot or the pendulum. I feel like we always say the word wrong. You can ask it questions. You can ask the tool that you're using questions. And when you get that answer, know that it's something else trying to help you find out what's going on with you. I think that that's what I love about divination so much. Even as a palm reader, I don't read everything about people's lives. I don't do that. But there are specific things that really stand out to me the moment I read somebody's palm. And I'm like, this is the message they need to hear right now. I don't have to tell them their life A to Z, but they need to hear a message right then. And the way that I always start my palm readings is you can change everything, anything. Well, maybe not the past, but you can change how you feel about the past and how you think about it and what is your story. You can tell yourself a new story. You can change yourself to be exactly what you want to be. But I think that divination as a practice is useful for us because it allows us to change course if we don't like what it's saying about our future. If we don't like the direction that we're headed, you can call this ambiguous, right? Like it has no preference. It's not biased. It has no biases against us or our lives. And you don't have to listen to it. It's a choice to take the advice, to take the meaning in your own terms and then work with it. Like it's such an individual thing that I only practice tarot with probably about 5 people. I got you, Mom, Liz, Kaylee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 5 being I'm the 5th with myself. And it's very close to my heart because it's really discussing the big things in life, or even the smaller stuff that you're just trying to get through. So I think we did the year ahead spread and we showed you guys kind of what that looks like and how we base our months off of cards just to kind of see what we might expect or go through throughout the year when we do our year ahead spread. That's one of the ways that we use divination. That's like amazing and fun to think about. You don't remember your card, right, for this month?
Not
Did
for
you
this
look it
month.
up?
No, I haven't yet. No. But you know what I was going to say is that this year was kind of strange for us because 2 of us really didn't feel like our cards were.
I think all 3 of us.
Yeah, we did not feel like our cards were speaking to us, which is odd for anyone.
It was odd.
And so we came back like a month later to the drawing board, another year spread because we were like, this is just not lining up with us. And then our cards made sense after that. So If you feel like something's not resonating or it doesn't fit your situation or it doesn't feel right to you, clarify, ask for clarity from spirit, from the universe, whoever, and pull another card, or ask another question. Can I get clarification on this, so that you have the chance to get a second message to confirm.
So when we talk about all the systems that are out there for us to use, I started to talk about the animals and things going on in our life and numerology and palmistry maybe. But for me, what ended up moving my entire family to Florida was one simple sign. And it's pretty crazy because you're thinking that ended up with your entire family moving to another state out of 2 different states. We were all in 3 states and we all met here over time. But I knew that I wanted to leave South Carolina. I'd lived there a couple years and I just didn't feel like there were opportunities there for me. And I wanted to be near water. So I did not want to go back to California. I wanted to move to Florida. I was like, I've seen the water in pictures. I'd never been to the state in my whole life. Didn't know anything about it. But I decided I was moving to Florida. So I tried to pick 2 cities that I thought would have good opportunities for jobs, both that have military, centers in them. Jacksonville, Florida, or Tampa, Florida. I was like, all right, we got bases in both of these. I should be able to find a job, not a problem. So I'm debating this question over and over in my head. I'm like, how do you even do research on this? How do you know to move to a place before you ever go there? I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll just drive to Jacksonville because it comes first, and then I'll drive to Tampa. I was going back and forth. Then I had this crazy 24-hour period where I was seeing my mom after coming back from Iraq, and I went to my flight and they were like, we're sorry, your flight's not going to go out today and there are no other flights. You're going to have to come back in the morning. And oh, by the way, we don't have a seat for you. So you're going to have to be on standby until whenever there's a flight, because all these flights have been delayed, of me trying to get back to South Carolina from Kansas City visiting her. And I'm sure I visited you too. We didn't used to be close.
We really didn't.
We were like, I don't think we're related at all. So after being delayed and oh shit, what am I gonna do? I don't know. I go to the airport in the morning and they offer me, they're like, you could buy a first class ticket. And I was like, okay, well, how much is that for my ticket? She's like, $50. I'm like, all right, well, how much is bag? She's like, actually, your bag's included. So it was just the purchase of $50 and I didn't have to pay for my extra bag. So crazy day, right? I get on the plane and in the seat is a Tampa Bay newspaper. I was like, I'm moving to Tampa. That's it. That's all it took. I decided right then and there, Tampa was meant for me because the universe showed me a sign of Tampa Bay. You can sit for your whole 2.5-hour flight and read about Tampa Bay right now. This is going to be your place. And I did. I got back to South Carolina. I gave all my stuff away. I put my kid, my dog, and my ferret in a car, and we moved to Florida without knowing anything. 8.5-hour drive, just showed up here, got a hotel room for the night, and we were like, all right, let's figure it out in the morning when there's sun. And I did, and now my sister moved down, a couple years after that, and then my mom moved down a couple years after that, and now my brother's here, and it's like, oh my gosh, that one newspaper that somebody left in that seat in first class that I would have never been in because I just wasn't that bougie, led me to move to Tampa. So that is an example of how divination can work in kind of a way that you don't even expect.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have any stories like that?
That's a big one. That's not as cool as yours.
We're not in competition.
No.
Our little sisters.
Yeah.
Try to one up.
I have some pretty cool ones, but I don't know if they should be posted online.
How to start using your divination tools? If anybody hasn't used anything, what would you say is how to just start? Just start.
Yeah,
Look
start off with
Elise, I see your cat.
He goes, hello, everyone. Good way to start out is to just ask one question, or even if you don't have a question, sometimes if I don't have anything in mind, because I like to pull a daily card, and I don't always do this, but if I don't have a question and I just feel like, you know what, I want a message. What do you got for me today? What is it? And I'll pull a card and I'll read the message and I'm like, it always hits somewhere for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you can there's a couple ways that I do that. And I've learned this from the interwebs.
The interwebs.
because I used to just shuffle my tarot cards like normal deck of cards.
yes,
But now I see people doing this little fancy shuffle thing that they do.
they just go everywhere.
And I'm like, wow, that looks cool. I want to do that. So I do that now, and I find that I still receive messages that are amazing. The cards just kind of like pop out when you do it that way, which I think is even cooler because it's like spirit's like throwing it at you. They're like, read this.
Whereas, when I pick, I'll do different ways of picking.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll like fan them out on my bed and then I
Yeah.
just like kind of feel it. I'm like, and it's you're the lucky one. And you just try different methods. And I don't think a method hasn't worked for me, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to receive. The moment you do that, the universe is like, everybody, she's ready to listen. Okay, everybody hold in. We're doing this. And I think that the energies on the other side get very excited when we are stepping out of our human selves and we're like, let's pay attention to something that is like from within that really resonates with our energy and start trying to change, evolve, get better, understand our purpose. Oh, the universe goes on fire for you. They're like, we're ready.
Yeah.
We're just gonna start throwing things at there's
Yeah.
that funny like a reel, that's what it is on Instagram, how they have the reels, like short 30-second videos. People have done a couple of them, but it's always like what you think your spiritual journey is going to look like. And it's like somebody like la 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 la, like nature beauty. And then, there's the guy that's like being banged around. And there's all this like chaos going on. It's such a perfect example of thinking that you're going to start this very peaceful, serene, like connect with nature journey. And then all kinds of stuff comes up. That's why we have the whole section of shadow work on dealing with being human, being a spirit in a human body, and like, oh man, all the things that go with that. So when you start receiving messages, I know that one thing that we love to tell you guys to do is journal about all the things, because you'll really start to uncover the patterns and the stuff that sticks out in your life. And you can say, all right, I saw this coyote doing circles. That means something. Go home, journal about it, look it up, and be like, okay, I remember this. So I'm not sure how far between she saw her coyote and finding out that her guy was a
within a week
sack of something.
Well, I kind of already knew that, but yeah, it was confirmed.
So say you see these signs and you're not getting a confirmation just yet, and then it's like 5 months later, having a log of all the things the universe was trying to tell you before you actually got the answer is also very helpful.
And it's so cool to look back at it too, when you think of like, oh my gosh, all the things that happened in my life last year, and you'll happen to go back and read and you're like, wow, like look where I am now. Like who would have thought that would have all led up to this point?
My son today, I'm glad that I don't remember his card numbers, but he's 17 and I got him a bank account and a debit card, which is terrifying because he's got to learn how to manage himself. And so he asked me a lot of questions. Well, he tried to make his first purchase on Amazon, and of course it's like a brand new card, so they were like denied. And they tried like 5 more times, and they called me. They're like, "There's fraud on your son's account. Like somebody's trying to spend $1,000 on Amazon. It's like 5 denied purchases." So he doesn't know the ins and outs of things like that. So we had to cancel that card because then there were some purchases that were kind of weird. I was like, yeah, he didn't get on an automotive website and try to buy something. Like it was very odd. So that card cancels. He gets a new card. I'm his mom. Numerology, like, I'm not going to say queen, but somewhere in there. Somewhere in like knowing all the numerology things. So
better crown. Okay.
Thank you. I just, just imagine the glow of it.
Yeah.
So he comes to me today and he says, Mom, I want you to tell me what you think about this. I said, oh God, okay. Because with him, it's always something crazy. He says, my last card was like 1499. He said, this card is 9441. What do you think about that? And I'm like, well, here's all the ways that I would think about that, and I told him that this is the universe trying to get him to, the first thing is they just want you to acknowledge something is like, oh, whoa, what was that? Something's going on.
Nothing is a coincidence.
So once you start noticing, and they're like, I really feel like team of lighters over there, like in a call center going like, they got the first message. All right, and send the next message. What are we doing? And they have like this whole plan on how they get you to open up or like see things. And so I told him, I said, this is just your team of light seeing if you acknowledge numbers, seeing if you follow patterns, because not everybody does. Not everybody's looking at numbers, but you come from me and I'm a number obsessed person. Thank you.
In case you guys didn't.
Yeah. Hashtag numerology queen. I said, so they're seeing if this catches your eye. And if it does, you're going to see more number coincidences. Do you know what he said immediately? He goes, it's his best friend's name. His address is 9441. So it's all the same numbers. And all of a sudden he's like, whoa. I was like, see? They're starting to build it for you.
Yeah.
So that you start recognizing like these are safe numbers, or these are numbers that you pay attention to for details. I always tell them the story. We've traveled a lot in my car, and I'm a numerology 7 birth path. So the greatest number ever. Just kidding. But it's the one that's like super reflective and spiritual. And I do love who I am. So as a 7, I'm attracted to other 7s wherever they may lay. And when I used to drive on the highway all the time, if a car got in front of me that had a 77 on the license plate, I was like, ooh, slow down. This is telling me like, hey, why did I see it as a warning? I have no idea. But every single time, and I wish I didn't write it down. See, this is why you should write it down, because I could give you like dates. Every time I saw a 77 on a license plate and I slowed down, there was a cop up ahead. And I had a lead foot back then. So I would be like doing, possibly 85 and a 70. And it was definitely worth slowing down for. So even today, 77 is my number 2. Slow down, take it in, be aware of your surroundings. Like, let's be cautious. Let's just, because it's a reflection number. So I feel like, why are you going this fast? Do you need to? Like, what's happening? You're rushing it again. You're trying to live too fast and you don't need to. So that's one of my signs, like on the roads. I guess I have them for everywhere probably too, like in grocery stores, if there's like something, colors, purple is like my favorite color. So we have those things that are really specific to us, and your team of light or your source will use those things to get your attention. And as soon as you start paying attention to seeing it all the time, they're like, all right, cool, she's at level 1, we're going to bump her up to level 2, start bringing in some other stuff. And I think that's how it kind of builds.
Yeah,
it's how it built for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's the same with tarot. As you like go through things, you're like, nothing's connecting. I don't understand. Slowly you'll start to see a connection. And your first one is like, I need to call everybody and tell them about this crazy coincidence. Like, it's big, it's wild, like, how could this happen like this? It's like the girl with her ladybug. Just minutes after talking about it, one landed on her. Like, it just feels like you can't deny that, or nobody can like tell you that's not real. The confirmation that feels so good. That's what I think divination really is for us. Okay, I've talked a lot. You start talking, I'll start drinking.
I just want to reply to Kim's comment that she said. Are we supposed to do that on these? I'm probably
you can. There's not a rule.
Oh, okay. She said the coyote story really makes her think, because she used to see them all the time when she was married, and found out 3 decades of marriage he had been cheating the whole fucking time.
Connection.
Yeah.
See the crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. And once you start seeing those signs, numbers, animals, insects, trees, names, even, you're going to see them all the time if you don't already. And looking them up, it's an easy Google search. I don't go into a fancy witch book of mine to find the definitions. No. I literally Google it because it's so big now. There's so much information out there. Most of it is coming from books. Yeah. So yeah, really connecting into that. And I'm sorry that happened to you, Kim.
So this made me think of my story about my friend who passed last year. And it was really sudden. Her name's Angie. And Angie met me at the liquor store. This is a great story already. She worked at the liquor store near my mom's house. And so when we would do Witchy Wednesdays and do card readings here, one of us was in charge of like grabbing a 6-pack or a 12-pack of beer or whatever. So it was my time. It was my turn to run up there. And she saw me, and I'm like, I'm decked out in my, numerology queen crown and all my witchy stuff and everything that I do. I know I'm getting super extra tonight. It must be you.
It's me. She's taking up my energy.
Feeling fancy. She saw me, she was checking me out, and she's just like, I love your whole look, something. And it was the first time that I was like, I'm a witch. Like, I just said it so, just put it out there. And I was like, whoa, that was crazy. So this happened more than 3 years ago. But she passed last year. All right. So on her journey, this is what made me start the meetup. That's another part of this. When I started teaching her about witchcraft and like sort of training a new witch, as you can think of it, I'm like, I got to do this on a bigger scale. This happens to me all the time. I train one person and I could be training. teaching like
Training.
so many witches in training. I could be helping so many other people more than just like one at a time. I was like, efficient use of time, Jamie. Let's see how we can do this. So she gave that relationship gave me the idea for starting the meetup, and she joined a couple of our meetups. But long story, much shorter than all that was going. Her entire new witch beginning was centered around a connection with her grandmother, who she had lost. Everything that she felt, all her divination, all her signs, the flowers in her yard, the crazy things that she would find. Every time she texted me about stuff, her world was more about the divination. And her grandmother was always in it and always there. Oh shit, I might cry. I'm gonna
Watermelon.
Okay. Watermelon. So it took me a long time to process her very sudden death. She was a young woman. And now thinking about it, it's like her grandmother was there, reassuring her of some kind of belief in the afterlife, some kind of belief that not to be afraid to die, something that gave her a reason to kind of move forward, because she was sad at this time, feeling like she didn't have a place. She'd gotten out of a traumatic relationship, just really in that bad place, and needed something that I could bring to her that showed her that there's light in the world, that there's light after this world. And so when she passed, I was, oh my gosh, like this was, I wasn't ready for that. I haven't had a lot of people in my life die. So dealing with death is still sort of new to me. And her passing was like, she's younger than me. She was maybe younger than you. So I'm 42.
I think
she could have been like 10 years younger than me, maybe 35.
I think she was 32.
32, yeah. So it just wasn't, it just felt like that's not supposed to happen. And I didn't know any of her family, and they didn't really know that she was practicing or getting into this side of the spiritual stuff. A lot of her family was Christian, and so that was hard for her. So she was kind of, living it secretly. But I kept telling myself, I'm like, I'm gonna go. She had a twin sister, you guys, twin sister. And I wanted so bad to like connect with them, but I also didn't want to tarnish what they may have thought of her. Like, I don't know if they would have approved of it. And so I just never got involved. But I always think about that her spiritualism spiked so hard the last year of her life. Like, she started feeling like she belonged in every space, that life was beautiful, that the earth was beautiful, that all these signs were real, that it was magical, that she had a purpose. And right when she got to that peak, that was it. She crossed over, and I'm like, I don't know if I could deal with stuff like that. Like, it made me really consider, do I want to take on more people? And if they die, what do I do? Like, I'm gonna have to experience death over and over again. So I've learned to not think about death as in the, our physical death, but that we all get to transition over, and it's how comfortable are we when we do it. So I get to talk about that, the crossing over a lot more with like peace and having a love of, this life and what we can carry on to our next ones, the lessons, the people, all of our connections. So with Angie, it was a blessing, and it also hurt like hell, but I'm so glad that she led me to here with all of you, because she inspired me to do this. And so maybe that was her big life purpose. I mean, that sounds really selfish to be like, it was for me. That's not true.
It's your energy.
Where do I be proud? But our kids had went to school together. Her son had actually been at a sleepover at my house, and we didn't even realize it. So the universe had actually brought us together 3 times. And when she came to my house that 3rd time, she said, I've been here before. I picked up my kid from here. I was like, oh my gosh, really? That's me knowing everybody. I didn't remember, and we were like, whoa. So it was really interesting to see our journey and how the universe was trying to bring us together before that last year. But it made its point. She was only working at that alcohol store for like 2 months, and I met her and she quit. The guy was sexually harassing her. And so that beautiful journey and the divination that goes in with that, that's what I guess I was trying to say. Her whole last year of her life was about reading all the signs and feeling that connection, that she was not here with no purpose, and that everything that she was doing was going to be okay. She got to that place within that last year. So if nobody's, teared up yet, I don't know. I don't tell that story too often, because there are members on here that knew of her. She led other people to this meetup as well. And I'm also thankful for them. Like, everything that started as our teeny tiny group. All right, you have to start. I did the intro.
What?
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
I don't know how to do this.
You're on.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's a pleasure, as always, getting to tell you guys all of our cool stories and divinations in our lives every day.
We'll see you next week.